Okay, so hello everybody. Here, I wish I was there in person, but I am in my office in Rovereto, and I'm here to tell you about a game that hasn't started yet, so we don't have data on how well it works, but still we would like to share it with you and collect your opinion. So we are talking about the Actors Challenge project, which is a game, a serious game to collect data on intonation profile through the web. So this game was born from our interest in prosody. So word, sentence, accent, intonation, lexical tone, rhythm and tempo, and all sort of every feature that pertains to the way we actually utter words and sentences. Now there is a well-established tradition in the way to annotate prosodic features. There are many ways to do it, but not so much work has been done perhaps in mapping specific prosodic patterns to semantics, although with important exceptions, for instance, the work done in Edinburgh by Steedman, Alex Laskarides, and so on. That's even, I think, more true about the relation between emotions in speech and information structures. So there are people studying emotion, there are people studying information structures, but there isn't a lot of commonality among these two subfields. So in order to try to address this, we, and also based on past experience with a website that was designed to collect the oral data for minority languages called Vinco, we started to design a social web game called Actor Challenge. The goal of Actor Challenge is to collect and validate large amounts of data on the correspondence between prosodic patterns of linguistic expressions and their meanings. And the idea actually springs from a training that, according to Roman Jakobson, the actors that were practicing the Stanislavski technique had to do. So this is basically actors had to be on stage and say one sentence, one expression tonight, and the audience had a list of possible situations, and by the way in which the actor was pronouncing these words tonight, they had to decide to which context that belonged. So we're trying to do the same, although on the web and with a much more limited set of context. The initial launch is going to be in English and Italian, probably German and Farsi to follow, and others, depending on success. So how does it work? We started to set up some linguistic expressions, which are the targets. These are expressions for which we are studying the intonation. And these should be expressions that are fairly neutral, that is utterable in various contexts, like, for instance, good evening. Then for each of these questions, we have a set of contexts which could precede or follow the target, or simply describe the way in which it could be uttered, like scene directions in a theater script. So they are the background to understand how the target should be uttered. For instance, the target could be good evening, and the example could be, you have just discovered a thief under your bed, and you say good evening in a certain voice. So this is the sample of the spreadsheet that we are using. For instance, the target in this case would be the sentence on the left, you have put my trousers in the microwave. And the context is, for instance, one of those you see in the second column. We have a difficulty level so that people who are more advanced are matched with more advanced material. And this is the other columns just give additional metadata essentially. How does it work? The gamers or participants sign up for an account on the website. They could use a computer and handheld device. They give some basic data like gender and age. and also where they come from, of course, which is important if you're playing linguistics. And then they start playing the game in two roles, which are explained in a moment. As the game progresses, they are prompted to alternate between these two roles. The roles are the audition mode and the evaluation mode. In audition, the idea is that the participants are actors that have to go through an audition to be chosen for a part. So they are given a random target, say good evening, and a set of context. Then they have to record their voice as they act out the target with the prosody appropriate for each given context. Okay. Once they're satisfied with their performance, they submit their recordings. In the evaluation mode, the participants are sort of switched in the alternative role. Now there are the people, say the impresario, that has to decide who is a good actor for the play. And so what happens in this case, they hear a particular target recorded by another player, and they see a set of context, which were the context originally presented to that player. Another task is to guess which context that particular utterance was associated with. Okay. Having done that, they rate the performance using a Likert scale for how good it was. Now, how the scoring, this is a game, there must be a scoring system. The scoring depends on two factors. How often the utterance was matched correctly to the context by a sufficient number of evaluators. That is, how many times you uttered good evening with a certain intention, and that intention was recognized, and how high the performance is on the rating. Okay. Players also receive a score as evaluators, how good they are to recognize the communicative intention or other players. And this is given by the variance of their judgment with respect to the judgment of other evaluators on a set of clear cases, let's say. On the basis of this, they receive a score. Notice that the score is not done online immediately because it takes time for an utterance to be evaluated by others. So basically, the players receive an email that says, we have a score waiting for you, and then they go back and they're declared to be like a Sophia Lawrence, a Laurence Olivier, or vice versa, a court jester, or a donkey or something like that. We have still to fine-tune the titles. We are at the moment in the process of switching to a different interface. The one you see on the paper is different from the one I'll show you in a moment. The names of the people with the highest score are going to be posted in a scoreboard, and as I mentioned, they're going to be notified by email. The scores drop over time if the account remains inactive. And we are also exploring the possibility of having future features such as advanced player will be given the opportunity to suggest targets or context that are going to be added to the game. As you can imagine, as the players continue to play the game, they produce recordings that are labeled. That is, they are annotated with the various prosodic patterns that have been used for different linguistic expressions. At the end, we selected those recordings that were consistently matched to the correct context with a high rating. And these constitute our validated data. The sound files that are systematically mismatched also offer opportunities for future linguistic analysis. For instance, there might be some prosodic contrast that is simply impossible or impossible in a given language. We are going to use this game to examine the effect of combining multiple intonational patterns. That's what Siavosh is especially interested in. We are going to use it for speech emotion recognition, which is a task which is in very high demand, to study interspeaker variation in prosodic pattern, cross-language variation in prosodic pattern for the same semantic cues, the possibility of discovering ambiguous prosodic patterns, and also any correlation between the linguistic identity of the actors and the linguistic identity of the evaluators. That is, are you better at recognizing the intonation of people that share your same variety of English or Italian, or to what extent can you judge foreigners? One problem with the contrasted game of this sort is the possibility of exaggerated intonations. And so caricatures, essentially. So one way to address these issues is to try to first rely on the performance score, so people could be detected as correct, but then the performance score, which stresses the naturalness of the utterance, could become low. We also want to mitigate it by adopting higher number of alternative contexts and randomizing the context at evaluation time. But we'll see which one to go for when we have the data. On the quality control side, sound quality could be an issue, as with any web game that records sound. The actors are given the chance to listen to the recording multiple times before submitting, so that should help on this side. The evaluators have the possibility of alerting when the sound quality is low, and this feedback is fed back to the actors. There is also the issue of inappropriate recording, that is, actors veer off and record maybe abusive language or completely different expressions. Again, there is a signal abuse button, and we are also exploring the possibility of using dictation software to check to some degree whether the utterance produced was what was meant. At the moment, the software engine is ready in Java. The front end, as I mentioned, is under revision. We anticipate to launch the game for beta testers at the end of this summer. And then we'll, depending on the feedback we get, we will start to advertise it on social media and related venues for actors. In the meantime, we'll expand our range of expressions. And that's it, but I think it's actually time to show you. So this is the team that is behind it. I didn't quite get a picture for Benvenuti, so that's the Benvenuti person, but I think it's time to show you what we have at the moment. So let's open this and show you the way the interface looks at the moment. So this is the home interface. And this is the audition mode. So for instance, in this case, you have this set of contexts, and the sentence is, you have put my trousers in the microwave. So suppose that you are interested in recording this one. You have put my trousers in the microwave. Then you can, oops, I forgot to do the consent. Okay, I have to redo it. Hello, 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 hello. Oh, sorry, I have to redo this because I forgot to. So there was nothing. You have put my trousers in the microwave. You have put my trousers in the microwave. Suppose you're satisfied, you go choose it. And then we upload it. And then you do this for all the various contexts. And when you're done, when you've recorded your input, you can move on to the next stage. Suppose the next stage is the casting mode, the one where you decide what's, what is the context appropriate for a certain utterance. So by clicking here,
you have put my trousers in the microwave.
So this sounds rather desperate to me. So maybe it's oh yes, I guess it's definitely this one. And at this point, you decide that this guy is really good, and you give it a 4-star and submit. Okay. So this is basically the players alternate between these two modes.